Terrace. Item 91.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Houston Planning Commission. My name is Devin Criddle. Item 91 is Washington Terrace, partial replat number 4. The site is located in Houston's corporate limits, east of Emancipation Avenue, along Rosewood Street and Wheeler Street. The purpose of the replat is to create 4 single-family lots and a shared driveway. There are no variances being requested with this item. Review by legal indicates that this plat does not violate restrictions on the face of the plat or those filed separately. Staff's recommendation is to approve the plat subject to the CPC 101 form conditions. Madam Chair, if it pleases the commission, you may open the public hearing for this item at this time.
Thank you. The public hearing on item 91 is open. We have a number of speakers. Consuela Fusilier. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Good.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us. I am a resident on Rosewood Street in the 2500 block, where this is in the middle of our neighborhood. This neighborhood is mostly 90% single-family homes with setbacks. We did have deed restrictions and lot size requirements. In 2014, there were we had signed petitions and then had given it to the Civic Association to file and assumed that they were done. And unfortunately now we're seeing, after I pulled, because the records weren't readily available during that time. So I see that they're not on city records. It's only 2005 and only a few of them are there. As you can see, and you look at all of our neighborhood, they are single family homes. This is in the middle of the block. The way there is a home, it used to be 2 lots. One side was Rosewood and the person combined it, which makes sense for his tax purposes, and we understood that. And that wasn't an issue, but they made it 1 lot, but the side on Rosewood was blank. And when the other gentleman sold it, we assumed that it was going to, because this is a progressive neighborhood. We are not against commerce, and most of the homes in this area have not been torn down. They have been refurbished and sold for a profit. So putting 4 townhomes on that 1 lot is just devastating. And on this street, in this block, and in this section, there are single family homes. We do not have duplexes on this street in the 4 going from our section from Blodgett to Wheeler. We have 1 home that has a multi. All of them are single family. So and there are vacant lots around there that are not sold. But thank you. Please consider this. And as I said, I don't know what happened with this. I've talked to the past president and the current, and I did walk the street and get more signatures, but but thank you. Please consider this.
Thank you. Brian Van Tubergen. Jason Hyman.
Good afternoon. So, my name is Jason Hyman. I'm a resident of Washington Terrace and president of Washington Terrace Civic Association and interim president of Super Neighborhood number 67. I'm here today to speak on behalf of myself, my neighbors, and other Third Ward community stakeholders to express our frustration. Washington Terrace, as said, has been a single family home residence for almost 80 plus years. As of recent, our neighborhood has become one of the most desired places to live in the Third Ward area, which has increased prices, kind of catching the eye of developers looking for opportunities. The proposed development is out of context for our neighborhood, skews property values, puts stress on our property taxes, especially for those of our seniors, which we have a high population of. Additionally, the undue strain on our infrastructure and reduced permeable surface warrants concern for flooding and system breakdowns. So we understand that there are tools for minimum lot size and building size, which we'll be seeking for the neighborhood, but there's a high barrier to entry for us as opposed to what developers have to do. So we understand you have no legal ground to go on, but when are we going to change the way we shape our communities? This replat will be the first of a takeover that will forever change this neighborhood as we know it, especially with the introduction of opportunity zones. So regardless of what happens today, we want to propose some of the following suggestions. One is we want to put some of the onus of responsibility back on the developer. We shouldn't have to come down here in the middle of the day away from our jobs and our families when we're the existing property tax payers, not who's coming in. We work long and hard on a complete communities plan. We ask that you guys support that. We're in this complete community zone that we all agreed upon with our mayor and council members, but we don't have things here to support that you guys can actually make decisions upon. And last, we propose that although we consider all y'all, we would like some more diversity as it relates to underserved communities. And I want to thank Commissioner Longoria for speaking up on these matters and these behalves. So please consider that going forward. I know you mentioned you guys are going to be doing replat discussions later this year. I don't think we had that kind of time. So please consider our cries.
Thank you. Hold on, we have questions for you, Commissioner Abraham.
Give us a little bit more light with regards to your deed restrictions.
Washington Terrace deed restrictions is community is almost 100 years old, so they're expired. So
okay.
Just like
are you in the process of?
We have signatures for minimum lot size.
Okay.
That we've made scheduled with you guys, planning commission to come down so we can have our application reviewed, so we can go through that process for this street. But we'll be looking for every street, no different than.
Are you considering putting together deed restrictions for your area?
We have, but it's been very difficult because, like I say, the responsibility that we have to go get all these signatures as opposed to what someone coming in for one piece of property. They don't even need to come and get our support for something that may be different. We have to come down here and fight, and then you guys tell us I don't have any legal ground.
Yeah, that's the responsibility that you have. And sorry to put it to you this way, but as the representative, you have to recognize that that is your responsibility to take control of, and you know that very well. Mm-hmm. And so any developer could look at several different lots in this area until the point that you put certain controls in place. Mm-hmm. Just FYI, going forward, again, one plat, isn't going to destroy your entire neighborhood. And so at the speed at which you can put together something to prevent others from happening, maybe your best recourse. I don't know how my colleagues would go with this one. I would definitely want to vote against it personally because I understand the condition of this particular area. But I'd also like to feel as if you guys recognize that it is your responsibility to put together deed restrictions. That's not the city of Houston's responsibility because deed restrictions are given to you by the state of Texas, not by the city of Houston. And so it really is not our responsibility. In fact, that's why we can't go against them because it's a really strong mechanism that the state empowers you to take control of your area. And so please consider that.
That hurdle is very high for you. You guys are professionals and very good at what you do. And you're speaking to a bunch of residents that don't have the same level of sophistication in understanding the relationships between some of these rules. And we count on you guys to work with us, to protect us. And it's why we worked so hard over the past couple of years to have what we consider a complete community. So but I do understand.
Commissioner Bryant.
No, I was going to echo much of the points of Commissioner Abraham. I know this community very well. I know this block very well. I don't know the developer, but I know the lot. I have a sincere appreciation for what this development could do to this block. I would strongly, and we do, I'm sure it sounds like Commissioner Longoria has met with you or at least spoken with you. There are some tools we can use to kind of help with that process for the minimum lot size. But I think I also will agree with Commissioner Abraham, because I would probably vote against it because I know it's a problematic issue, but I don't know if we would necessarily win because it is something that they're not violating anything. So that's something we have to be very sensitive to as well. But these kinds of concerns are something that the commission thinks about often and regularly. I know our chair has talked about revisiting replat. I think that conversation is probably going to get sped up a bit. So it won't happen later this year. It will happen this year, a lot sooner than probably people think. But it's something that we are very sensitive to because some of us actually live in these neighborhoods as well. So we empathize a lot stronger than you think.
Thank you. Commissioner Longoria?
Thank you for, I hadn't met with this group. I think they're referencing the comments I made in the last meeting about another property on Emancipation. But I just want to push back a little bit that I do think this sets precedent. And I've said that earlier today. You know, that 5-foot building line on the side, I get it's technically the side of the house and that's why they can do 5 feet. But what happens is that next property comes down and says, well, around the block, they've already done it and around the block. And so I'm really pushing on the first domino. And I think, you know, someone much smarter than me is going to figure out how to quantify what the first domino looks like, but this is it, right? It's one of those, when you see it, you know it. And I think that must approve is different from shall approve. And I think we can actually push back. And I would be very interested in seeing what it would look like if we voted against one of these. I understand that gets us into a lot of legal hot water, but that's why we have some of the nation's finest to help us with that. But the point being that we've got to start somewhere to set our own precedent that these projects are not going to stand. And I appreciate that it can happen later through ordinances. Yeah, we know this sets a precedent. And, you know, we talk about affordability, which we can't engage, and we talk about in density and all of these things that we talk about on the peripheries. I don't think this is the kind of density that we're hoping for when we talk about more walkable and livable communities. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So, thank you.
Sorry, if you would limit your response, we'd appreciate it. Any further? Yes, Commissioner Rosenberg.
I also think there's a few other tools.
Yeah, he mentioned them.
I think there's but also historic neighborhood is another one that you guys can look into. And there are people out there that can help you that work on your side. So I would recommend you looking at every aspect, and I think the planning staff would be incredibly supportive to meet with you and give you guidance on all of those items.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
Wait.
Hold on, I'll call you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian Van Tubergen, to be followed by Michelle Mays.
Hello. Sorry. Thanks for listening to us. My name's Brian Van Tubergen. I'm the president of University Village Civic Club. It's the eastern portion of the northern Third Ward. And we're also a member of the greater Third Ward Super Neighborhood. And we're here to support our sister organization, the Washington Terrace Civic Association, in their opposition to this replat. Just want to make two statements. One is talking about the replat process for improvements. When you're looking at townhomes with shared driveways, I'm a refugee of Montrose and West End, and you need guest parking when you have a shared driveway with no guest parking. So if there could be some standard where 1 guest parking per 3 townhomes, we really appreciate that. The secondly is when there's variances, I know in the ordinance, officially recognized civic clubs are notified of a variance. I think that's there for a reason. It's very important. I think the commission should always take the opposition of the civic club as a priority over any negotiations that happen with a variance. That will make the developer go to the civic clubs and get their feedback, get their support for a variance. If the civic club does not support the variance, the commission should not support the variance either. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Michelle Mays.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Mays, and I too am a member of Washington Terrace and a member of the Washington Terrace Civic Association. And I reiterate what my president has said. And to me, that doesn't even look right. That's not what we want our neighborhood to look like. It's ugly. And it shouldn't be. And I thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I had no one else signed to speak on item 91. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay, come forward. Would you state your name for the record, and then when you finish, would you fill one of these out for us? Thank you.
I will. My name is Janice Hunter. Good evening, everyone. And I am a property owner in Rosewood, on Rosewood Street, the 2300 block. I grew up, I was raised there. We've owned the property for almost 70 years. And the thing is, my neighbors called me and told me that a large sign had been placed in my yard, and that I had to come to this hearing. And I didn't know anything about that. I went and I seen the sign, and I made some phone calls. My blood pressure went sky high because it was all new to me. And in saying that, I did make a few phone calls because I did receive a letter. And I made a couple of phone calls asking about this sign. I called the City Planning Commission. Nobody called me back, saying why this sign was in my yard or anything. But I did ask for the sign to be removed. And the sign was removed. I don't know why. I just know I came back over there and the sign was gone. And my neighbors told me that the sign had been put further down on the other side of Emancipation Way. Anyway, my question is, I'm gonna assume, and I looked at my property, my plat number and my block number, lot number, and my neighbors, and we all figured out that they obviously had the wrong address because I live on the west side of Emancipation Way, and they said it was supposed to be put on the east side of Emancipation Way. But my question is now, do I need to go and get a lawyer, a property lawyer, or anyone? Because can the city of Houston and developers just come and take my property away from me like that just because they want it? I don't know.
No, the city can't just come and take your property away. Yeah, I think you're focused on the sign.
The sign is gone and the letter, and I came, to see what is actually going on.
I'm going to ask Mr. Criddle, was there an issue with the notification sign?
No, not to my knowledge. The applicant did provide a picture of the sign on time. I'm just now hearing this for the first time that it may have been on a different property, but the picture staff received was on the correct property. So this is my first time.
And it was at the correct thing. So we may be talking about, we've had a number of emancipation area items lately. It may have been another issue. I don't know that we can help you, but I don't think it's
the
there's a problem.
sign, I'm going to assume, was in the wrong yard.
Yeah.
I made a couple of calls to the 2 phone numbers that's on here,
And the sign went away.
and the sign
So,
went away.
It
My
sounds like.
sister was there at the time, and my sister said they took the sign and put it further down Rosewood. I live in the 2300 block. They put the sign down, I guess in the 24 or wherever, with the house and the lot. So, see, now that's my question.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Garza.
Just a question. So Ms. Hunter, part of what we have to do is they have to give the information to the neighborhood, and that requires signage. And so the signage doesn't go in your yard, it goes in the right of way. So that sign by law has to go up in and around the properties to inform the neighbors of what's going on. So it's literally in the right of way. Now, in your case, it possibly was put in the wrong place if they moved it. but then it went down to someone else's yard, so to speak.
Because the notification says property east of Emancipation,
Right.
and I live west of
Yes,
Emancipation.
it's quite likely they put it there by mistake, but the answer is
Yeah.
the city is required to inform everyone within, I believe, Mr. Criddle, 500,
250.
250 feet. And so that's why you got a letter. And the signage perhaps was put in the wrong place, and that's why it was moved, and you gave them notice of that. But that sign has to go up somewhere in the neighborhood to inform you and your neighbors of what's happening on that property.
But it doesn't mean that the city has any intent to do anything to your property or to take your property or
Nothing.
anything. It's
Just a
just a
notification.
notification for the neighborhood, for the area. So I know this is stressful for you. I'm sorry you've gone through this, but I think, aside from the development, the sign issue is not going to be a problem for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Mater, would you like to speak? It's hard for me not to call you Dipti.
Sorry, Commission. Because this issue has come to light, I think the staff would recommend, not I think, the staff would recommend deferral on this project for us to make sure that the sign is right now at least on the correct property and that it was posted 16 days prior to the meeting. If we cannot verify or the applicant cannot verify that the sign was posted 16 days in advance, next time we come in, we may recommend disapproval because they may not have met the correct notification requirement.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Motion, Abraham.
Motion to defer Abraham, second. Let me get a second.
Second.
Third.
Second, Sigler, okay.
But
Commissioner?
my comment is, because I do agree with that motion, but could our legal please define shall approve?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing. I think we're going to
Just
have.
for the next meeting, if,
We're gonna
it
have
would be
it-
nice to know, it would be nice to hear it today so
I-
we can all,
I'm happy to do that very quickly.
Yeah, please.
State law actually uses the word must approve, not shall. I think they mean the same thing. I think it has the same emphasis. And the idea is that subdivision plats are technical documents. And they are designed to show the engineering and what can go there based on the regulations in place. And if they meet all of the regulations that the city currently has at the time that it comes before you, state law requires that it must be approved. And that's why we have on occasion had situations where you all have wanted to act against staff recommendation on a must approve plat. And we always ask that you put your reasons on the record, because we have to be able to tell the applicant what part of the regulations they did not comply with. Notice here could be that one. But,
Right. And
so thank you for the deferral.
yeah, and I have to just say personally, there are a lot of times when I've been, before I was chairman, when I had to vote on shall approve items that I hated. And it's kind of a luxury to be able to say, no, I just can't vote for it. But as a body, we are required to approve it, and we have to take that seriously. I think Commissioner Rosenberg was first, and then Nelson.
So I want to make sure to also speak about another point. While it's being deferred for a technical reason, I think there's also cause for deferral for input reasons as well. And you guys should take this opportunity to extend the conversation with the owner of the property, because as you have a feeling and desire about how your property is maintained and the integrity and all that, this property owner owns their property and has rights as well. And usually when two people get together, they can discuss that. And it's also been beneficial to look at what new development brings. New sidewalks, improvements to infrastructure. I believe you guys are in a Terrace, which would help, in a management district, which would help on improvements in your neighborhood. So even if they build 3 townhouses and you begin to have these conversations now, it's often better results as a stronger community to do that. And obviously, if not, you can come back and have those conversations at the next meeting, which I'd encourage you to continue having those conversations and utilize this time to the best of your ability.
Thank you. Commissioner Nelson?
Just to follow up on what you said is if we're not true, that we could overturn these things, we'd all like to vote for that way, and a lot of times. I think there would be generations of planning commissioners disappointed to learn that they could have, because they would have all through these generations. But the real question I had, the gentleman talked about the variance. There's no variances here, right?
No.
It's very clear that this is a must approve.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
there are no variances. I think he was talking more generally. So Commissioner Bryant.
A quick question, the issue that the woman brought up about, she made some calls and she never got a response. And so I just want to see if staff could follow up with that, because one of the concerns we want to address immediately is that if we put these signs so the community is aware, and if they call with inquiries because they're going to have them and no one's responding, that's a major problem.
Yeah.
And so we need to find out who's at the end of the line, who's not answering, or whoever, because we want them to be as informed as they need to be so they can, make the right decisions.
Perhaps somebody got the call and they just moved the sign but never called back, which is, they should call back. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion, Abraham Sigler, second to defer. Is there further discussion?
Can you go back to block 1 over here and tell me what's going on with the sliver of something at the top there? Of the replat, the page with the replat. What is that little sliver thing that looks like, what is the cutout up there?
So that's there's an existing home on the site.
On 100 square feet?
No, so what you're seeing is just what's encroaching the 25-foot
it's
building.
the encroachment.
Correct, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Which predates the ordinance, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor of deferral, say aye. Opposed, item 91 is deferred.